tired, angry, or forgetful. Here's why your brain's telling you something critical, and you're probably ignoring it. These 3 warning signs may seem small, but they could reveal exactly what your brain needs to heal. Don't miss what your symptoms are really trying to say. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes your brain whispers, a little more fatigue than usual, a forgotten name, a sharp tone with someone you love. You brush it off. Maybe you're stressed. Maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe it's just life. But what if these are messages, real signals from your brain trying to get your attention? Neuroscience tells us that every symptom has a root. Your brain isn't betraying you, it's alerting you. Think of your brain like a communication center, but instead of words, it uses symptoms. Fatigue means low energy at the cellular level. Anger can signal inflammation or nervous system overload. Forgetfulness may be a cry for rest, nourishment, or reconnection. Most people ignore these cues. They push through, self-criticize, or normalize the dysfunction. But the longer you ignore the whispers, the louder they become. Your brain is not broken. It's burdened, and it's doing its best to adapt. Your brain is the most energy-hungry organ in your body, using 20% of your daily calories. It reacts instantly to nutritional imbalances, toxic overload, emotional stress, or lack of sleep. Tired, angry, forgetful, these aren't just moods, they're neurological red flags. They are not signs of weakness, they are signs of need, and needs can be met. The sooner you begin to understand this language, the sooner you can heal. So ask yourself gently, what is my brain trying to tell me? Do I need more sleep, more silence, more real food, more connection, more breath? Symptoms aren't punishment, they're protection. Your body and brain are always fighting to keep you balanced, even when you're running on fumes, but they can't do it alone. This shift, this moment of awareness, is where everything begins to change. No shame, no fear, just listening. Imagine how differently you'd treat yourself if you saw symptoms not as flaws, but as messages of love. This tiredness isn't laziness. This frustration isn't failure. This forgetfulness isn't decay. It's your inner world sending you an invitation. Slow down, tune in, respond with care. You don't need to fix everything at once. Just begin by listening. Every time you recognize a symptom as a signal, you build trust with yourself. That's how you heal. That's how clarity returns. You were never broken. You were just trying to make it through without the tools. Now you're learning to understand the language of your brain, and in doing so, you're learning how to come back home to yourself. You're waking up exhausted, dragging through the day. Caffeine barely makes a dent. Your brain feels like it's in a fog, like every task is heavier than it should be. This isn't normal tiredness. It's a sign of something deeper. Deep in every brain cell, tiny engines called mitochondria produce energy. When these engines are stressed, blocked, or inflamed, your brain can't get the power it needs. That's when you feel drained, disconnected, and dull. This state is called brain energy deficit. It happens more often than you'd think, and it has many causes: poor sleep, chronic stress, toxic exposure, a lack of essential nutrients, blood sugar crashes, even hidden infections. When your mitochondria can't produce ATP, the fuel for brain function, you start to feel like you're fading, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. You lose your spark, your clarity, your motivation. But here's the good news. Mitochondria are trainable. They can be restored. You're not stuck this way. Your brain wants to heal. What it needs is nourishment. Healthy fats like avocado, nuts, seeds, and omega-3s are crucial. B vitamins, especially B12 and folate, help with energy metabolism. Magnesium and CoQ10 support cellular repair, and clean hydration allows your brain to flush toxins that build up when energy runs low. Sleep is your superpower. It's when your brain clears out waste, repairs tissue, and restores neurotransmitter levels. Don't sacrifice it. Aim for deep, uninterrupted rest. And move your body. Even gentle walks stimulate mitochondrial growth. Sunlight, nature, laughter, these aren't luxuries. They're part of how your brain recharges. If you feel tired all the time, it's not your fault. It's not about being lazy or unmotivated. It's biology, and biology can be supported. This is your body asking for help, not handing you a life sentence. When you stop blaming yourself and start supporting your energy systems, your clarity returns. You feel more present, more capable, more alive. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Just begin with one nourishing choice, one night of sleep, one real meal, one breath of fresh air. You'll be amazed how quickly your brain starts to respond. You're not meant to live in exhaustion. You're meant to thrive. Your energy is waiting. It just needs to be remembered and rebuilt. You feel on edge. The smallest things set you off. You're snapping more, apologizing more, but also feeling powerless to stop it. Anger isn't always about external triggers. Sometimes it's a sign that your internal world is inflamed, literally. Brain inflammation can hijack your emotional regulation, and you may not even know it's happening. When your brain is inflamed, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning, patience, and empathy, starts to shut down. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the fear and threat center, goes into overdrive. You're not imagining it. You actually become more reactive, less able to process, and more likely to misread neutral situations as threats. It's not your personality. It's your neurochemistry. What causes this inflammation? Sugar, ultra-processed foods, environmental toxins, chronic sleep deprivation, high stress, a disrupted gut microbiome. These factors increase inflammatory cytokines, molecules that trigger immune responses in your brain. And once inflammation rises, serotonin and dopamine, the neurotransmitters that stabilize your mood, start to decline. That's why your fuse gets shorter and your joy feels more distant. You can fight this. You can calm the fire. Anti-inflammatory nutrients like omega-3s from wild salmon, flaxseed, walnuts, antioxidants from blueberries, spinach, turmeric, and probiotics from yogurt, kimchi, or supplements reduce brain inflammation. So does regular movement, especially walking or gentle stretching. Mindfulness and slow breathing regulate your vagus nerve, shifting your body out of fight or flight and back into rest. Anger is often misunderstood, but when you stop labeling it as bad and start recognizing it as a biological clue, you change the story. You stop feeling broken. You realize you're inflamed, and that's something you can work with. Your brain isn't angry at the world. It's overwhelmed, undernourished, and overstimulated. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Imagine what could happen if your nervous system felt safe again, if your body was nourished, if your thoughts were clear. You'd still feel emotions, but they wouldn't control you. You'd move through life with more grace, more understanding. That's possible. It starts with listening to your anger as a signal, not a character flaw. So next time you feel like you're about to explode, pause. Ask, what does my brain need right now? Water, rest, silence, a walk? That one question could change everything. Healing is not about perfection. It's about paying attention. You forget your keys or someone's name. You walk into a room and can't remember why. At first it's funny, then it's frustrating, and eventually it can become scary. But forgetfulness isn't always a sign of aging. It's often a sign of disconnection from your body, your habits, your rest, or your sense of purpose. It's your brain saying, something is missing. Memory depends on many things: blood flow, neurotransmitters, quality sleep, emotional health, and even social interaction. When any of these fall out of alignment, memory suffers. Cortisol, your stress hormone, is particularly damaging to the hippocampus, the memory center of the brain. Chronic stress literally shrinks it. Sleep deprivation weakens memory consolidation. Poor diet slows down synaptic communication. Isolation dulls mental stimulation. It's a storm, and memory is the first to go. But there's hope. The brain has an amazing capacity to rebuild. It's called neurogenesis, the ability to grow new neurons, especially in the hippocampus. This happens when you feed your brain properly. B vitamins, healthy fats, antioxidants, clean hydration, and amino acids. Exercise also stimulates memory repair, especially aerobic movement. Studies show that even moderate walking increases hippocampal volume in older adults. Cognitive training, like puzzles, reading, G, or learning something new, helps form new neural pathways. Even music can awaken memory. And relationships matter too. Talking, laughing, sharing stories, these all light up memory centers in the brain. So does mindfulness and reducing digital clutter. Constant distractions weaken attention, and attention is the gatekeeper of memory. If you're forgetful lately, don't panic and don't shame yourself. It's not about willpower. It's about unmet needs. Your brain wants structure, rhythm, nutrients, and peace. When it gets them, it begins to remember not just facts, but how to feel joy, clarity, and connection again. Your brain isn't breaking down. It's calling out for balance. You can answer that call with gentleness, with better food, with deep sleep, with curiosity instead of criticism. Forgetfulness doesn't define your future. It just signals that it's time to realign. That's not scary. That's empowering. Tired, angry, forgetful. These aren't random glitches in your personality. They are patterned responses from a brain that's overwhelmed, undernourished, and out of rhythm. The most powerful healing begins not with a pill or a drastic change, but with listening. Every symptom is a signal, a message wrapped in discomfort. But if you stop and decode it, it becomes your roadmap to clarity. Your brain needs rhythm. It needs safety. It needs light in the morning, real food through the day, and rest at night. It needs movement, but also stillness. It needs stimulation, and just as much, silence. This balance isn't a luxury, it's survival. And the more you return to it, the more your symptoms begin to fade. Not because you forced them away, but because you gave your brain what it asked for. Healing is a practice, a return, a remembering. Every time you say yes to sleep, to nourishment, to connection, you're giving your brain a message. I hear you. I care. I'm willing to change. And the brain listens back. It responds in kind. It becomes more resilient, more focused, more emotionally grounded. You're never too far gone for this shift to begin. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a conscious pause, a gentle question. What is my brain telling me today? Start there, then act with kindness. This isn't about fixing who you are. It's about meeting your brain where it is. The tiredness becomes peace. The anger becomes clarity. The forgetfulness becomes presence. You have everything you need inside you, not because you're perfect, but because your biology is built for healing. Your job is simply to create the conditions, to choose differently, to trust the process. Every symptom is not the end. It's the beginning of coming back to yourself